Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another daily cryptocurrency market update. Hopefully, you've all had a wonderful weekend. And as always, we have a lot to get through. If you are finding yourself on my videos for the first time today, do consider becoming a subscriber and clicking that notification bell, because we drop an update just like this one every single day at 1 p.m. UK time to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the cryptocurrency space, but also the broader markets. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. We are going to be taking a look at the fundamental reason in regards to why Friday was so negative, and it has everything to do with profit taking on the Greyscale's Bitcoin Trust arbitrage trade. That was the discount was essentially closed with the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF, and people would have taken profits there, and that's why you saw such a large outflow in regards to Greyscale's now Bitcoin spot ETF, because of the profit taking on that arbitrage discount window. So we're going to be starting there. We're going to be looking at the flows. Then we're going to be looking and going straight over to the Bitcoin chart, because all of this, the sell-off for Bitcoin was very much predicted on this channel, very much expected, and actually very much welcome, because we want Bitcoin to essentially sell off, have a period of rest. Very interesting if you look at things like others' dominance and you look at Bitcoin dominance. It suggests altcoins, even though Bitcoin's we're expecting sort of perhaps even more downside for Bitcoin, or certainly the forming of that right shoulder, they might do well during this time period. But it's interesting how all of this is occurring at a key level of significance for Bitcoin. It's ultimately going to set us up for broader continuation. We're going to be looking at that, and altcoins might do well during this time period. And you don't just have internal things happening with crypto, you've also got a bit of a macro headwind in regards to higher inflationary prints across the board, and of course sort of geopolitical tensions. But all of the sort of fundamental and news factors for us are secondary to what the charts tell us. And the beautiful thing about being a technical analyzer is you will not know the future 100%, but you'll have a better probability in regards to, you'll go with the most probable outcome that's technically signaled in regards to just trying to guess where things are going. And that's how we got Bitcoin so right last year, and one of the first people through the door at 15, 16K. Ultimately, we got to our 42K target, and we're now looking at where it goes next. And things are setting up beautifully. Altcoins look primed, in my opinion, and I'm going to be discussing many of those with my Patrons later on in this video. If you want to become a Patreon, do check the link in the description. You will unlock my entire portfolio, totally transparent. And then we're going to be going over and we're going to be talking about Coinbase. So Coinbase have a very important date coming up, which is the 17th of this month, which happens to be a Wednesday, where they're going to go in front of Congress for a hearing over the SEC versus Coinbase lawsuit. And there's 4 outcomes that we're going to be looking at in regards to that. We're also going to be looking at the Coinbase chart, which also made our target and is selling off perfectly from that target, potentially setting up for broader upside that could come around the hearing, essentially the decision. So Coinbase, we think, is going to do very well. And then we're going to be wrapping things up with the week ahead. So we've spent quite a long time introducing what we're going to talk about. Let's now talk about it. And this is obviously Eric Balachunas, the senior analyst over at Bloomberg. Well worth a follow. It's been somebody I've been following throughout this entire saga. He essentially is looking at inflows, and you can see that GBTC's minus $579 million outflows. They were the largest outflows in the entire sort of ETF space. And this is very obviously because of the discount window that was closed with the approval of a Bitcoin spot ETF. So people would have simply been taking profit on that. And the interesting future is, now that we have ETFs, are they going to move the price more than spot trading via exchanges and leverage trading via sort of retail? My answer to that is I think so, because there's larger volumes of money that they gain access to. You know, an ETF has now set in motion, you know, Bitcoin being recognized as an asset class. I think it does very well as a result of that. But you're going to get volatility, of course, with the opening. And GBTC is the fundamental reason, in my opinion, with why Bitcoin sold off to its degree. However, even though they sold that much Bitcoin, you still saw a net inflow of $819 million. So, yes, Friday's close was perhaps, you know, we were expecting volatility. The beautiful thing about all of this is exactly where it occurred. And it occurred at a point that we were looking at. So we were saying that we want Bitcoin. We had a smaller head and shoulders target here that projected a 52K. Then we're now looking at the broader head and shoulders. There was a small continuation pattern in here that essentially played out perfectly before it sold off. This is a nasty looking weekly candle. There's no way around this. And actually, if we drop down to the 3 daily chart, you can see that it kind of mirrors what you had occurring over here. And ultimately, what we want is Bitcoin to kind of sell off and go sideways. And there's not all bad news in that. We're going to look at others' market cap dominance in just a second. So we want this to play out because this is going to set us up in the same way we projected the 42K here. We're going to be able to project this inverse head and shoulders pattern that is likely going to take you to the 150K range, which we have up there, or just slightly under it. Now, people often don't quite recognize inverse head and shoulders because they're so used to looking at charts the right way up, or you know, head and shoulders the right way up. But markets mirror, they move in this kind of head and shoulders pattern. It's kind of like what you used to draw on a whiteboard as a kid. And ultimately, you can see very clearly head and shoulders here that played out, break, retest, and now we're doing the same thing down here. So this is, of course, an inverse chart just to really peak everyone's ADHD and all these other things. Let's put it back on the normal chart. So this is what we want to play out. Fundamental reasoning is always secondary to us. Very key level. We want this to play out and ultimately see continuation. And this is how markets play out. So we looked at Injective as our kind of blueprint for altcoins. This is not going to be the best chart. This actually will be. You know, and this is essentially what we were looking at here. Same thing. You come up, you resist, you're just doing Bitcoin's setting this up right now. So it may want to do something like this and set up for continuation before it then goes on. And my belief is a new all-time high is coming for Bitcoin in 2024. And we've been now giving altcoin price predictions. You know, we think Polkadot can get to like $25 in 2024. We're going to be releasing a Cardano one this week, so stay tuned for that. And we've also got Hedera ones, you know, to the 30 cents range, and then above and beyond, potentially $2 in the future. I'm not sure whether that occurs in 2024. So this is all perfect. Regardless of the kind of macroeconomic headwinds with inflation and things like this, and a readjustment of rate pricing for this year, and of course the volatility that's caused by the Bitcoin ETF approvals, it's irrelevant to us because we are technical traders. We get our direction for markets technically not based on the news. And that's where I think many people go wrong. And if you want to learn about that, do consider becoming a patron. It is well and truly worth it. Let's now move on to an important date and some important news in regards to Coinbase. So the SEC versus Coinbase update. This is from the Meta lawman, somebody who is very popular actually on Twitter, certainly in regards to, I think, certainly the Ripple case and stuff like this. But he goes on to say the hearing on Coinbase's motion for judgment on the pleadings will be held on Wednesday, the 17th of January. There are 4 possible outcomes with potential permutations to each. So option 1, judge denies the Coinbase's motion. It's a low bar for the SEC. To win, all the SEC has to do is show they have alleged facts making their claims plausible. The case moves on to discovery for a year or more until motions for summary judgment like Ripple. So a repeat of Ripple. The second option is the judge grants Coinbase's motion with prejudice. This means the entire case is dismissed. Very interesting. I'm going to go over to the Coinbase chart in just a second. It's all over at the district court. The SEC moves on to appeal at the second critical court appeals. So they essentially win. The third option is judge grants motion without prejudice. SEC gets a chance to amend the complaint to cure deficiencies cited by the judge. But if the court rules that the SEC lacks authority from Congress to regulate crypto, so we looked at this overstepping rule that they do have in the United States that's often ignored and they kind of, you know, most people don't know about it, so it's not really brought up. There would be no point in allowing an amendment. So option 4, judge grants motion with respect to the claims relating to the 13 crypto tokens, but denies with respect the staking services. The case would then be moved to discovery, focused only on the staking services and whether it qualifies an investment contract. This would be huge for altcoins. And actually the interesting thing with altcoins, to move over to others' dominance, because everything aligns technically. It's like astrology. Astrology, bad analogy. You know, there's things that go on here, but if we look at others' dominance, this is played out so perfectly for us, just like we're looking at Bitcoin. Lower head and shoulders target projected an upper target, lower head and shoulders projected an upper target that perfectly coincided with this key level of significance. Where it sold off, you've now broken out of that into a broader head and shoulders that's predicting others. So cryptocurrencies outside the top 10 are going to go up to around about 20% of the market share of the overall cryptocurrency space. This has played out perfectly. We looked at this in Patreon. We sold off here. We said, you're going to get a bounce here. This is a breakout and a retest. And it's likely going to continue. So this is suggesting, even though we're suggesting Bitcoin's going to have a period of rest and lacklusternness as it forms that right shoulder, that altcoins are actually going to do quite well. And then now on this journey to 20+%. And there could be something in regards to Coinbase in that. Just to bring things back to Coinbase, Coinbase was one of those other charts that we tracked. We had a lower head and shoulders target down here. Guys, subscribe to this channel if you don't already. Okay? And if you want to take it even further, become a Patreon. Because I will, and I'm confident, help you guys outperform your peers through technically analyzing a market. And the one thing that we teach is stage analysis. The only thing we teach in regards to looking at a market from an investment point of view. So you had this head and shoulders, you had this break into another key level of resistance, which is forming the armpits of a broader head and shoulders. You came back, look at where you supported on the key level of significance. You're now going up again. The smaller head and shoulders target, which was up here, was perfectly hit. This was all given pre these things taking place before you then sell off harshly, likely to find a bounce here, which could coincide with the lawsuit and Wednesday's events, which could also marry up with others' dominance and altcoins continuing to gain ground. So lots of very interesting things. A really important week ahead of us, guys. But to overarchingly give out a statement now, everything is fine. Everything is playing out perfectly. And hopefully you guys have been following this journey that we've been on. And I guess I just want to say a massive thank you. We are at a stage now where for a channel with not even 60K followers, we get more viewings regularly than the channels with 100, 200, even some at 300K. So thank you to each and every one of you guys that are supporting us. And of course, do go and check out allincrypto.com and the Patreon. Last thing I want to do is just summarize with a little bit of news that we're going to be looking at for next week. So it's Martin Luther King Day on Monday. And then, of course, we've got Australian Westpac. Then on Tuesday, we've got UK employment data, Canadian CPI, something to watch perhaps. And this is actually coming down instead of up like the others. UK CPI expected to rise, US retail sales, even housing looks okay at this point, and even debt. You know, we were against RAL and all these buy bonds where diamond people, and now we're saying maybe debt gets a bit of a big with the broader macro context of things. And then Friday we've got US Michigan prints basically. So that is really all I've got for you guys. Hopefully you're all ready for a jam-packed week in the cryptocurrency market. And for me, Wednesday is going to be very significant with the Coinbase lawsuit. And the beautiful thing is we know technically what we're looking at and what we want to play out to kind of confirm our plan. And the plan has been very much following and going perfectly. So on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. I'm wishing you all, I'm hoping you've all had a wonderful weekend and a smashing Sunday so far. And long may that continue. And I'll see you all this evening and, of course, tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.